okay, assuming that the NBA season resumes, when does it have to be done by? Because a lot of us, and we've heard from from Adam Silver and other people that they're looking, and Woj has also reported they're looking into arena availability in July and August, and what that means going forward, assuming we flatten the curve and can sort of bring back to normal. I think it was 8 weeks in China that the NBA
yes.
the basketball leagues in China
they're back. South Korea is back.
They're back and rolling again.
Yeah, the CBA.
Exactly. So we're trying to figure that part of it out. And then, a lot of people are like, well, you don't want to go up against football in the fall. You don't want to get in the way of that. So would you have to be done by that? Would you have to have a really truncated season and a really truncated playoff? Well, Jalen Rose went on Get Up and said, well, why is that really an issue?
And I hear this tone about when should the NBA or when shouldn't the NBA start. Let me just put something out here. The NBA can start mid-June, mid-July. The NBA can start in August. This idea that you can't play basketball in September because you don't want to compete with the NFL is absurd. Of course, the Shield is and it will remain something that is hallowed in American grounds. And don't get me wrong, I can't wait for the NFL season, but it's still the beginning of the year. If you got NBA playoffs happening in September, I think the enthusiasm for LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard will be just as excitable as Tom Brady playing with the Bucs.
Is he right?
No, unfortunately, he's wrong. Playoffs will lose. A playoff game in the NBA will lose to Sunday football.
Oh,
it just
absolutely.
will. But where I think he's right, and it could do it is playoffs. They're series. They go on during the week. There's no football during the week.
Correct.
This would only be now Saturday. You may be dealing with some college football as well, and Sunday certainly the NFL. Unless you're talking about a Game 7. I hear him mention Kawhi and LeBron in a Game 7.
And we had a couple of Game 7s last year that took place on Sunday.
Exactly.
And don't forget, NFL plays on Monday and Thursday nights as well.
Right. So if you get those two in a Game 7, or if they shrink it in a Game 5, whatever, you may see a bit of a split. I think to that point, he didn't say the NBA would beat the NFL. I think he understands. So
correct.
The NFL would still beat the NBA.
I think he's saying it would hold its own.
But there are enough games during the week, I think, when football wouldn't be playing that they absolutely could hold this during the football season.
I don't even think he's saying it would win or it would hold its own. He's just saying it wouldn't lose enough to be a deterrent for doing the season.
I agree with that.
Which, even at this point, if you have the chance, because I have my own doubts, like in the parts of myself that I'm afraid to talk about at parties, that any of this actually happens. I have my own doubts and misgivings about that, but if it does, or if they're able to, it's going to. Like, there's not a question. Even if it comes at a loss or the expense of the NFL, they're going to play it as soon as they can.
I think the big thing is, what can their latest?
Did you say endest?
What can their latest?
And he got us about 21st and 24th.
What can their latest end date be if they want to start the next season?
Well, see, I think that's what's really interesting.
No, I know, because they may do that flip, but that's got to be decided on how far can you go, because you can still, work with what you have left. You can shorten the rest of the regular season to what's enough to get some work in before the playoffs, and you can shorten playoff series from best of 7 to best of 5. So you can still rubber band it enough, kind of stretch it or shrink it however you need to fit.
All the change it brings up a couple interesting things to me, because when we look at this, and we've talked about this with the Olympics, like the idea of postponing the Olympics till next year for someone like Simone Biles, who in a sport where she's 23 years old,
23,
or
right.
in gymnastics, you might as well be 40 at that age.
Correct.
Because of the way that people peak in that and the timelines and the cycle for that. How might this affect people like her, other Olympians who are near the tail end of their career, who are hoping this might be their last games, kind of akin to Michael Phelps in the Olympics in Rio this last time around? How might that affect somebody like LeBron James, who over the course of this season, a year where we had no Kevin Durant healthy out on the court. We know Kyrie Irving in the Nets situation was marred by injury for him. The Golden State Warriors were imperfect, and LeBron had the number 1 ranked team in the West. Like, of all the years to capitalize on a potential late, 17th season in the NBA championship run, this might have been the last best chance. And if now it is maybe even not all completely lost, but changed in such a way where it's difficult to recognize, how does that affect the way that we look at someone who had a chance to add to a resume that's constantly compared to Michael bleeping Jordan?
Well, I think they played 60-plus games already?
I was just looking. They played 63, so they have 19
They have
more.
19 games left. And I understand. First of all, let's operate under this premise. Do we all believe that at some point this calendar year, this NBA season will resume and conclude?
I believe it will, and I don't believe there's any way they're playing those last 19 games.
What about you?
I hope.
I think listen. You can't rule anything out,
right?
But if I was a betting man, I would put a large amount of money on the idea that this season, in some way, shape, or form, is going to resume.
I agree, and I say go into the football season. I agree with Jalen. It's fine. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't do that.
Okay.
Again, forgetting the competing and who would win or that, they should do it. If they can, they should absolutely do it.
At some point, you just have to worry about your business and finishing it.
Yes.
So if that's the case, Junior, are you willing to come along with this discussion that, at some point, there's going to be a resumption?
Sure.
Okay. So if there is,
I mean, we're talking about moving and postponing the Olympics in late July, and we're acting like these organizations might be able to come back.
Hold on, but there's a difference there
because
there's all the trials that go up to that.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot.
It's not just starting at July; it's everything that has to happen months beforehand to lead to July. So it's a different animal.
We've also heard the NBA players say they would need at least X amount of days or weeks to feel like they're ready to put back on for a season. All the things that go into that.
Let's go. Let's just go with this coming back.
Thank you.
For this
conversation, it's coming back. You could make a very convincing argument that this is actually a good thing for someone like LeBron James.
I thought the exact same thing.
I mean, this is a guy who doesn't have to worry about the stress of those back-to-back and playing all those 82. Get completely healthy and rested, and then let's just do the playoff thing. That might be the best-case scenario for LeBron to add to
I
that
thought
resume.
of that as well. And again, this is a different level we're talking about than what's going on in reality with people. I get it, but you know what this guy's house has? This guy has the workout facility. This guy has a basketball court.
I don't worry about him. I worry about the rest of his team. Like LeBron